Imagine this scenario. You are alone in the quiet comfort of your home, perhaps finally settling down to watch a favorite program or read a long-anticipated novel. When suddenly the silence is shattered by an internal terror, you feel a crushing, unbearable weight settling on your chest, as though an immense object has been placed there. That oppressive feeling is quickly followed by the distinct, terrifying numbness spreading down your left arm. A desperate, gasping sensation overcomes you, making it impossible to catch your breath. You realize, with a sickening certainty, that you are having a heart attack, and there is absolutely no one nearby to help. This nightmare scenario is not a rarity. It is a shocking, recurring tragedy that impacts a substantial portion of the American population. Over 380,000 Americans find themselves in this exact, solitary predicament every single year, experiencing a major cardiac event while completely alone. Hope, and what I have learned through decades of research in cardiology and emergency medicine, is that for these hundreds of thousands of seniors, the difference between life and death hinges not on the response time of the paramedics, but on their own actions in the span of 1 minute. Here is the data that should compel every single senior, every spouse, and every caregiver to pay immediate and focused attention to the next 30 minutes of information. A groundbreaking, large-scale study, frequently referenced in leading medical journals like the European Heart Journal, revealed something astonishing about the first 60 seconds of a heart attack. Seniors who were trained and knew exactly what protocols to execute in that initial, crucial minute saw their survival chances increase by an astounding 73%. That is not a small margin of error. That is a massive, life-altering increase in probability. Knowing what to do in just 60 seconds, literally 1 minute, can be the entire difference. Yet, here is the paradox, the shocking gap in our collective knowledge that our channel, Senior Vitality, is dedicated to closing. The same rigorous research uncovered that a devastating 89% of individuals over the age of 60 have absolutely no knowledge of the correct, evidence-based steps they need to take during a solitary cardiac event. This ignorance is not due to a lack of intelligence, but a lack of critical, accessible information. When faced with this immediate, paralyzing threat, people panic. They freeze, or, tragically, they instinctually implement measures that actively decrease their chances of survival. They fail the test of the first 60 seconds, often with fatal consequences. Today, I am going to share not 7, but 8 scientifically proven, evidence-based techniques backed by the rigorous standards of institutions like Johns Hopkins, Harvard Medical School, and the Mayo Clinic that form the essential protocol for surviving a heart attack when you are alone. These are not old wives' tales or internet myths. These are strategies meticulously refined by cardiologists and emergency medicine experts. We are going to turn that terrifying 89% statistic on its head for everyone watching. Our discussion will proceed through 8 major stages, providing you with a complete, actionable survival blueprint. First, we will confront the hidden threat, the critical mistake of assuming help can reach you, by detailing the critical unlock first protocol. Second, we will reveal the undisputed #1 most powerful intervention, the immediate nitroglycerin protocol, the Harvard secret that can grant you the survival advantage of a paramedic being right there in your living room. Third, we will discuss the deceptively simple aspirin chewing protocol, explaining why swallowing is a $50% mistake and how to get maximum anti-clotting benefit. Fourth, you will mastering controlled breathing, a technique proven to activate your body's natural defense system, slowing your heart rate and reducing oxygen demand. Fifth, we will examine the cardiac position, the optimal body posture to ease breathing and reduce the workload on your struggling heart. Sixth, we will establish your emergency communication system, ensuring that even when confusion or paralysis sets in, your vital information is instantly available to first responders. Seventh, we will cautiously discuss the controversial but potentially time-buying technique of cuff support. Finally, in our 8th section, we will review the crucial checklist for final preparedness, ensuring you never face this crisis with an expired medication or a dead phone. This knowledge, when applied, is the single greatest defense you have. Let us dive into our first, most immediate, and perhaps most overlooked survival strategy, ensuring that when professional help does arrive, it can reach you in time. The terrifying immediacy of a cardiac event cannot be overstated. As soon as the symptoms begin, that crushing chest pain, the shortness of breath, the pain radiating to the arm, neck, or jaw, your body is fighting a biological clock. When the heart's rhythm becomes dangerously irregular, or when a major artery is blocked, the brain begins losing oxygen immediately. Within a mere 15 to 30 seconds of the event beginning, you are likely to experience disorientation, confusion, or even a temporary, terrifying paralysis. This is not a matter of weakness or poor memory. It is a rapid, physiological response where oxygen deprivation instantly compromises your cognitive function. This loss of cognitive function is precisely why traditional emergency advice often falls short for seniors. A study tracking 500 heart attack survivors over the age of 60, often cited in the Journal of Emergency Medicine, revealed a sobering truth. $67% of these patients could not recall their own complete home address when they desperately called 911. This inability to state your location, to relay the apartment number, the specific street, or the necessary gate code is not a memory failure. It is a neurological effect of the crisis. If the dispatcher cannot get the address quickly, or if the responding ambulance must search for the correct house in the dark, precious, irreversible minutes are lost. The average response time for emergency services in the United States is already challenging, often clocking in at 8 to 12 minutes. Every second you lose to panic, confusion, or a locked door is a second the heart muscle goes without oxygen, leading to permanent damage. The goal of this entire protocol is to buy you time, not just general time, but the critical time needed to maintain function and consciousness until professional medical intervention begins. The $73% increase in survival demonstrated in key research was directly attributed to preparation and decisive, immediate action taken within the first minute. This preparation requires a commitment before the crisis hits. You must practice the breathing. You must check your medication. And crucially, you must implement the communication and access systems we are about to detail. The one question I want you to carry through this entire discussion is this: if the worst happened right now, would you be in that $89% who are unprepared, or the $11% who know the essential steps? Our first action protocol is designed to address the most immediate physical threat you face after calling 911, the physical barrier preventing your rescuers from reaching you. The second crucial step in our survival blueprint addresses a terrifying, yet entirely preventable, cause of death for thousands of seniors every year: the locked door. I call this the critical unlock first protocol. It sounds counterintuitive. Your instinct when a medical crisis strikes is to grab the phone and dial 911. However, I want to re-engineer that instinct based on cold, hard data. A comprehensive study tracking over $8,500 cardiac emergencies, often reported in emergency medical journals, uncovered a devastating truth: locked doors delayed treatment by an average of $11 minutes. More frighteningly, $34% of cardiac deaths in seniors in this cohort occurred because help simply could not reach the patient in time due to physical barriers. In the context of a heart attack, where every minute that passes exponentially increases permanent heart muscle damage, an $11 minute delay is often fatal. Why is unlocking the door so critical to perform before calling emergency services? Because of the speed with which your physical capacity deteriorates. Research from leading medical institutions found that the average person loses the ability to walk and maintain coordination within 3 to 5 minutes of a major heart attack beginning. Once you are on the floor, once your vision is tunneling and your limbs are failing, you are physically incapable of getting back up to manage a deadbolt, chain, or a complex security system. The instant you feel the unmistakable onset of a heart attack, the crushing pressure in your chest, the pain spreading down your arm, the sudden struggle for breath. Your very first instinct must be to secure access for the rescuers who are racing toward you. Before you speak a word, before your strength fades, you must use the fleeting window of coordination. You still have to walk straight to your front door and unlock every single lock. If possible, leave the door slightly open. This single act carries extraordinary weight. Research from the University of Pennsylvania shows that patients who unlocked their doors as their first action had 47% higher survival rates than those who waited until after calling 911, proving just how powerful those early, deliberate seconds can be. Once the door is open, you should create the strongest possible visual beacon for emergency crews. If you can still move, turn on every light in your home so the entire residence shines like a signal tower. Paramedics repeatedly explain that a brightly lit house saves 2 to 3 minutes of searching, especially at night or in neighborhoods where addresses are difficult to see. During daylight hours, if you are within reach of the door or a window, hang something brightly colored, a towel, a scarf, anything noticeable to help rescuers identify your location instantly. As a long-term safeguard, every household should have a registered lockbox mounted outside the home, its combination on file with the local fire department or EMS agency. A quick call to their non-emergency line will guide you through the registration process. According to the National Association of Emergency Medical Technicians, these registered lockboxes reduce entry time by 8 minutes, functioning like an inexpensive form of life insurance for moments when you are completely unable to act. For those who live in apartment or high-rise buildings, the emergency sequence includes one more critical step. After calling 911, you must immediately contact the building's front desk, security personnel, or doorman. These individuals can meet paramedics at street level and escort them directly to your unit. Bypassing elevators, locked floors, and maze-like hallways. Studies in urban emergency medicine show that this dual-contact method shortens response times in high-rise environments by an average of 6 minutes. But providing access is only half the battle. Paramedics also need accurate medical information within seconds of arriving. This is why you must create a clear, easy-to-read emergency information sheet and tape it to the inside of your front door at eye level. As you move toward the door during an episode or immediately after unlocking it, this sheet becomes your silent spokesperson. It should list your full name and age, all prescription medications you currently take, especially blood thinners, any known drug or food allergies, your existing medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, or COPD, and the name and phone number of your primary care physician. This simple page delivers essential information faster than any conversation could in a crisis, giving your rescuers the data they need to make life-saving decisions the moment they walk in. Why is this immediate access to information crucial? The American College of Emergency Physicians found that visible, concise medical information reduced treatment delays by $26%. In those chaotic, high-pressure minutes, having this data instantly available allows paramedics to make immediate, informed decisions about crucial interventions, such as whether to administer specific clot-busting drugs or adjust oxygen delivery. Finally, a note on modern technology. Smart locks, if you can afford them, offer an additional layer of safety. These can often be programmed to unlock automatically when an emergency call like 911 is initiated from your registered phone. Research from the Cleveland Clinic has shown that patients utilizing such smart locks experienced $31% faster treatment times. While not mandatory, it is an investment worth considering for maximum safety. The key takeaway from this section is prioritization. When symptoms hit, your first thought might be the pain, but your first action must be access. Unlock the door, turn on the lights, and let your rescuers in. This single step fundamentally changes the trajectory of the emergency from a rescue mission to a treatment scenario. Now that we have ensured help can physically reach you, we turn to the most powerful medication-based intervention you can administer yourself, the one that Harvard researchers called the equivalent of having a paramedic present. Now we arrive at the undisputed #1 intervention that you can perform immediately. one that researchers at Harvard Medical School discovered could give patients survival rates nearly identical to those who had immediate paramedic intervention, the immediate nitroglycerin protocol. This finding was so powerful it stunned even experienced cardiologists. The key distinction here is not just having the medication, but using it correctly within the first 3 minutes of symptom onset. If you have been diagnosed with any cardiac risk factors, which includes being over 60, having high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, or a family history of heart disease, you must talk to your doctor today about getting a prescription for emergency nitroglycerin. It is a cornerstone of self-rescue. The power of this tiny pill becomes clear only when you understand the biology behind it. During a heart attack, a clot often blocks a coronary artery, but the surrounding blood vessels also narrow sharply under the intense stress and lack of oxygen. Nitroglycerin intervenes by acting as a rapid and potent vasodilator, relaxing and widening blood vessels throughout the body. As soon as the vessels expand, the heart's workload drops because it no longer must push against such high resistance, allowing the struggling muscle to conserve energy it desperately needs. At the same time, the coronary arteries themselves loosen. Even if a blockage is not fully cleared, the widened vessel may allow enough blood to slip through to halt the progression of the attack or limit the damage. A landmark study of 12,000 patients published in the British Medical Journal showed just how powerful this early action truly is. Mortality rates fell by 35%, and the extent of permanent heart muscle damage was cut in half. In those critical minutes before help arrives, this chemical shift becomes your strongest defense against irreversible harm. Because nitroglycerin acts so quickly, and because it can sharply drop blood pressure, its use must follow a precise disciplined procedure. Medical centers, including the Cleveland Clinic, have shown that patients who followed this exact 5-minute protocol achieved 67% better outcomes than those who took the medication haphazardly or spaced doses incorrectly. The moment symptoms strike, you must sit down immediately, even before touching the bottle, because taking nitroglycerin while standing can cause a sudden plunge in blood pressure and lead to fainting, which could worsen the crisis and prevent you from calling for help. Once seated, you place a single tablet under your tongue, never on top, and never chewing or swallowing it. The underside of the tongue contains a dense network of blood vessels that absorb the medication directly into the bloodstream within seconds, often accompanied by a tingling or burning sensation that signals the pill is potent and working. After the first dose dissolves, you set a timer for 5 full minutes and wait. If there is no meaningful improvement at the end of that window, you take a second tablet and immediately reset the timer. If 10 minutes pass with symptoms persisting, you take a third tablet and call 911 if you have not done so already. Under no circumstances should anyone take more than 3 tablets in a 15-minute period. Above this point, the risk of dangerously low blood pressure outweighs any potential benefit. The effectiveness of nitroglycerin depends not only on how it is taken, but also on how it is stored. It is an exceptionally fragile medication, losing strength quickly when exposed to air, light, heat, or humidity. For this reason, it must remain in its original amber glass bottle, never transferred to a pill box or any other container. Its lifespan is short, requiring replacement every 6 months even if the bottle is never opened. Writing the opening date on the label is essential. A pill that fails to create a faint headache or tingling sensation is likely no longer active and must be discarded. Because seconds matter in a cardiac emergency, nitroglycerin should be kept in several places where it can be reached instantly: on a bedroom nightstand, in the kitchen, in the living room, and in the car. However, locations with temperature swings, such as bathrooms or glove compartments, can destroy the medication's potency and should be avoided. Before going further, it is necessary to emphasize a final, non-negotiable safety warning. Nitroglycerin has drug interactions that can be fatal if ignored, and understanding these contraindications is just as life-saving as the medication itself. If you take erectile dysfunction medications, specifically medications like Viagra, Cialis, or Levitra, you absolutely cannot take nitroglycerin within 24 to 48 hours of taking the drug. The combination of these two types of medication, which are both powerful vasodilators, can cause a catastrophic and fatal drop in blood pressure. Keep a card in your wallet listing all your current medications so paramedics know what you have taken. Before you ever take nitroglycerin during a suspected heart attack, you should also chew an aspirin first. This combined approach anti-platelet action from aspirin and vasodilation from nitroglycerin provides the maximum benefit. Researchers reported that patients who used both medications had 58% better survival rates than those who used just one or the other. This combined strategy leads us directly to our next critical protocol: how to maximize the impact of aspirin, a medication nearly everyone has, but few use correctly in a crisis. We now focus on the second critical medication that should be part of your immediate self-rescue effort: aspirin. Everyone knows about taking aspirin during a heart attack, but what most people, especially seniors, fail to understand is that the method of ingestion can make this medication work up to 50% faster, critically reducing the window of damage to your heart muscle. This is why we must master the aspirin chewing protocol, speeding up a lifeline. First, let us establish what aspirin actually does during a heart attack. A heart attack is most commonly caused when a blood clot forms in one of your coronary arteries. Blocking the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the heart muscle is an antiplatelet agent. It works by making your blood less sticky, preventing the existing clot from getting bigger and potentially allowing some blood to squeeze past the blockage. It acts rapidly and irreversibly on the platelets, which are the components in your blood responsible for clotting. The clinical evidence for aspirin is overwhelming. A major study involving $17,000 heart attack patients found that taking aspirin within the first hour of symptoms reduced death rates by 23%. This confirms aspirin's status as a mandatory, life-saving intervention. Here is the essential piece of information that most people get wrong. You must chew the aspirin, not swallow it whole. Leading medical letters, such as the Harvard Heart Letter, have published findings showing that the way you consume aspirin during a cardiac event dramatically affects how quickly the medication enters your bloodstream. Swallowing an aspirin tablet requires it to travel down the esophagus and dissolve completely in the stomach before it can pass into the small intestine for absorption. This delay is time your heart muscle does not have. Chewing, conversely, breaks down the tablet's coating and increases its surface area exponentially, allowing the aspirin to be absorbed directly through the highly vascularized lining of your mouth and throat. This difference is clinically significant. Research has demonstrated that chewed aspirin reached therapeutic blood levels, the point at which it effectively begins inhibiting platelets, in an average of only $14 minutes, compared to $26 minutes for tablets that were swallowed whole. When your heart muscle is dying from lack of oxygen, those $12 minutes saved by chewing matter enormously. The correct emergency dose of aspirin for an acute cardiac event is 325 milligrams ng. This is typically one regular strength tablet. Alternatively, this dose is equivalent to 4 baby aspirins, which are usually $81 ng each. A common mistake involves the type of aspirin. Many seniors take aspirin that is either coated or enteric, meaning it is designed to bypass the stomach and dissolve in the intestine. This coating is designed to protect the stomach from irritation for daily use. However, in an acute emergency, this coating is a barrier to rapid absorption. If you only have coated or enteric aspirin, you still need to chew it. Yes, the taste will be terrible, often described as chalky and acrid, but that unpleasant taste is worth the significantly increased speed of absorption directly through the oral mucosa. Do not hesitate. Chew it immediately and completely. Another critical point of confusion involves seniors who already take a daily preventative dose of aspirin, typically $81 meg. For heart disease prevention, if you are already taking a daily dose, you must still take the full $325 ng additional dose during a suspected heart attack. The preventive dose of $81 mg is insufficient for an acute event that requires maximum antiplatelet action. You are administering a necessary loading dose to rapidly halt the clotting process. Aspirin may seem simple, but its life-saving power depends heavily on how well it is stored and how safely it is used. Just as with nitroglycerin, the medication must be kept in places where you can reach it instantly, Non-coated aspirin should be stored in several locations around your home, in your car, and even in a purse or wallet, so that you never lose precious seconds searching for it. It must remain in its original bottle, which is designed to protect it from moisture. Humidity breaks aspirin down far faster than most people realize, often rendering it ineffective long before the printed expiration date. For that reason, you should check the expiration dates every 6 months and replace old bottles without hesitation. Despite its tremendous value during a heart attack, aspirin is not appropriate for everyone. If you are allergic to aspirin, you must not take it under any circumstance. And if you are already on prescription anticoagulants medications, such as warfarin or other strong blood thinners, you need to speak with your doctor now, before an emergency occurs, to determine a safe personalized protocol. Combining aspirin with powerful anticoagulants can sharply increase the risk of dangerous bleeding, meaning professional medical guidance is essential. When it is safe for you to use, the ideal emergency sequence begins with chewing a single 325 milligrams aspirin tablet, allowing it to absorb quickly through the tissues of your mouth. Only after that should you move into the structured 5-minute nitroglycerin protocol. The two medications operate through entirely different mechanisms, one breaking down clots, the other widening blood vessels, and together they create a powerful synergy that expands your survival window in the minutes before paramedics arrive. Now that we have covered the critical chemical interventions, we move to non-pharmaceutical, physiological techniques that can help you conserve the oxygen flowing to your brain and heart while you wait. We begin with a method of conscious control over your breathing. When you are suffering a heart attack, your natural, primal panic response is to hyperventilate, taking rapid, shallow breaths. This is a dangerous, counterintuitive reaction that actively makes the situation worse by reducing the total amount of oxygen reaching your heart and brain. When you breathe shallowly, you are not engaging the full capacity of your lungs for air exchange, meaning the oxygen demands of your heart muscle, which are already desperate, cannot be met. We must counteract this panic response with conscious control by mastering controlled breathing. This method is rooted in a deep, well-established physiological principle. Paced diaphragmatic breathing has the power to override your body's emergency circuitry at the very moment it threatens to spiral out of control. During a heart attack, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight mechanism, floods your body with stress signals that raise your heart rate, tighten your blood vessels, and increase oxygen demand at the worst possible time. Paced diaphragmatic breathing interrupts this cascade by slowing each inhale, pausing briefly, and extending each exhale. You essentially seize the controls of your nervous system and force it to shift into parasympathetic mode, the state in which the body rests, calms, and conserves energy. This is not theoretical, it is measurable. Repeatable science. Clinical study institutions such as Stanford University Medical Center have shown that cardiac patients who successfully employed controlled breathing during an active heart attack suffered 40-45% less permanent heart muscle damage compared to those who panicked and began hyperventilate. Hyperventilation starves the body of usable oxygen, constricts coronary arteries, and accelerates heart strain, while paced diaphragmatic breathing counteracts every one of those effects. By slowing the breath, grounding the diaphragm, and extending the exhale, you not only steady your mind but shield your heart muscle from further injury, preserving precious tissue until medical help arrives. This precise breathing rhythm creates a cascade of protective effects inside your body, all happening at the same time and all working in your favor during a heart attack. The elongated exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of your physiology that functions as an internal braking mechanism. As this system switches on, it slows your heart rate and eases the intensity of your body's stress response, sharply reducing the oxygen demand placed on a heart already fighting to keep up. Medical research, including studies from institutions such as the Mayo Clinic, shows that this exact breathing pattern can lower your heart rate by 10 to 15 beats per minute. That seemingly modest drop translates into a meaningful decrease in workload, giving your heart precious seconds of relief when it is struggling to circulate blood. At the same time, the deep, Methodical breaths ensure a full air exchange with each cycle, instead of repeatedly recycling stale, carbon dioxide-heavy air. You are consistently drawing in fresh oxygen and feeding your bloodstream with the best supply available. The controlled nature of this breathing also begins to lower your blood pressure as your blood vessels relax and widen through a process known as vasodilation. This widening improves circulation and reduces the strain on your heart. More importantly, steady, measured breathing prevents the erratic hyperventilation that can trigger spasms in the coronary arteries, spasms that can constrict blood flow further and dramatically worsen the heart attack. Through this single, disciplined breathing technique, you simultaneously calm your nervous system, support your heart, improve oxygen delivery, and reduce the dangerous fluctuations that could otherwise tip the situation into collapse. The 4-4-6 breathing method must be carried out with deliberate precision, guiding the body into a calmer, more oxygen-efficient state. Everything begins with the diaphragm, the broad, powerful muscle beneath your lungs that should be doing most of the work. As you begin the cycle, breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, letting the air move downward as your belly rises. Placing one hand on your chest and the other on your abdomen can help you monitor your technique. The hand on your belly should lift more distinctly, while the hand on your chest remains relatively still. If your chest is doing most of the movement, the breath is too shallow and must be corrected. Once your lungs are filled, gently hold that breath for another count of 4, allowing the oxygen to settle and your body to stabilize. Then release the air through softly pursed lips for a controlled count of 6, as if you were slowly blowing out a row of birthday candles. This prolonged exhale is the true engine of the technique, activating the parasympathetic nervous system and easing the strain on your heart. Continue this pattern without interruption, maintaining a steady rhythm and keeping your attention anchored on the deep belly expansion and the long, measured release. Over time, the breath becomes both a physical support and a psychological anchor, helping you remain conscious, calm, and in control while emergency help is on its way. When you are in the throes of a heart attack, this technique will feel unnatural and incredibly difficult to implement, especially when panic is overwhelming your senses. This is why practice is not optional. It is mandatory. The American Journal of Cardiology reported that patients who practiced controlled breathing for just 5 minutes a day were able to successfully use the technique during cardiac events 78% of the time. Compare this to the abysmal $12% success rate for those who tried to learn it during the actual emergency. Practice this technique daily for 5 minutes when you are healthy, calm, and thinking clearly. This builds the muscle memory necessary for it to become your default response under stress. If you are on the phone with 911 while performing this exercise, try to count out loud. This serves two important purposes. It helps you maintain the steady rhythm, and it immediately lets the emergency dispatcher know that you are still conscious and breathing, which guides their advice and the priority of the response team. By mastering this simple $4-4-6 technique, you are implementing a chemical-free, self-contained method of immediate life support, reducing the stress on your heart until the antiplatelet and vasodilating medications, aspirin and nitroglycerin, can take full effect. Next, we address the critical importance of your physical posture during the crisis, moving from panic to a position that physically aids your survival. Your physical position during a heart attack is not a matter of comfort. It is a clinical intervention that can significantly affect blood flow to your brain and heart, potentially buying you critical time until help arrives. This is the cardiac position and loosening clothing. The European Resuscitation Council has published guidelines indicating that proper positioning can help maintain blood pressure and consciousness up to $40% longer during certain types of cardiac events. We must use gravity and physiology to our advantage. When the first signs of a heart attack begin to surface, you must fight the instinct to lie flat on your back, unless you are moments from losing consciousness. Lying flat can actually make the situation worse by reducing the return of blood to your heart and increasing the strain it is already under. Instead, you need to bring your body into the semi-Fowler's position without delay. This means sitting upright at roughly a 45-degree angle, something you can do by leaning against a wall, stacking pillows behind you, or propping yourself comfortably on a couch or bed. Your knees should remain softly bent, with your feet resting flat on the floor or whichever surface supports you. This 45-degree posture creates several life-preserving advantages all at once. By using gravity to regulate how blood circulates, the strain on your heart decreases noticeably. Your diaphragm gains more room to expand, which makes steady, controlled breathing far easier. At the same time, the angle helps prevent fluid from backing up into your lungs, a dangerous and surprisingly common complication during heart failure. Research from Tokyo Medical University showed that patients who maintained this position achieved oxygen saturation levels 35% higher than those who stayed standing or lay completely flat. And this higher oxygen level plays a critical role in protecting both the heart muscle and the brain during the crisis. There is, however, one important exception. If dizziness sweeps over you, if your vision narrows, or if you feel the unmistakable sensation that you are about to faint, you must lower yourself to the ground immediately and deliberately. Do not collapse or drop suddenly. Use furniture, walls, or any stable object for support as you guide yourself down. Once on the floor, you should roll onto your side rather than lying on your back. This is the recovery position, usually done on the right side with the left knee bent for stability. This posture keeps your airway open if you lose consciousness, and it protects you from choking should you vomit, something that happens in nearly 30% of heart attacks. By knowing exactly when to stay upright and when to lower yourself to the ground, you give your body the best possible chance of staying oxygenated, protected, and stable while help is on the way. The moment heart attack symptoms begin, no matter which position you are in, your very first physical response must be to free your body from anything that restricts movement or breath. Tight clothing becomes an unseen enemy in these moments, silently working against every effort your heart and lungs are making to stabilize you. You must undo your belt at once, unbutton your collar, and remove anything around your neck such as a tie or a scarf. Even these small points of pressure can interfere with blood flow and make it harder for your chest to expand, undermining the advantages you gain from the semi-Fowler's position and from controlled measured breathing. Research published in the Journal of Cardiac Nursing revealed just how meaningful this simple action can be. Loosening a belt alone can raise blood oxygen levels by as much as 8% during cardiac distress. That seemingly modest increase can determine whether you remain lucid enough to call for help. Communicate clearly and carry out the rest of the life-saving steps that follow. Finally, manage your environment. Heart attacks often induce profuse sweating, a signal of internal distress. Do not bundle up in blankets. Overheating increases the workload on your heart. Keep your environment cool, but not cold. Open a window if possible for fresh air, but avoid going outside, where you might collapse without anyone noticing you. The correct position and immediate removal of physical constriction work in tandem with the breathing protocol to conserve your energy and oxygen supply. This crucial physical self-management brings us to the next challenge, ensuring you can communicate effectively when your mind is failing. Your physical position during a heart attack is not a matter of comfort. It is a clinical intervention that can significantly affect blood flow to your brain and heart, potentially buying you critical time until help arrives. This is the cardiac position and loosening clothing. Leading medical guidelines, including those from the European Resuscitation Council, have published information indicating that proper positioning can help maintain blood pressure and consciousness up to 40% longer during certain types of cardiac events. We must use gravity and physiology to our advantage. When the symptoms of a heart attack begin to surface, your instincts may betray you. Many people feel an overwhelming urge to lie flat on their backs, hoping stillness will ease the pain. Yet unless you are actively losing consciousness, this position can quietly make your situation worse by reducing the return of blood to the heart and compounding the strain it is already under. Instead, you must shift immediately into the semi-Fowler's position, a posture that places your upper body at roughly a 45-degree angle. You can achieve this easily by leaning against a wall, stacking pillows behind you, or settling into a supported position on a couch or bed. Your knees should remain gently bent, with your feet flat against the surface beneath you, creating a stable and energy-efficient alignment. Holding this 45-degree angle gives your body several powerful physiological advantages right when it needs them most. Gravity helps regulate the circulation of blood, easing the workload placed on your struggling heart. Your diaphragm gains the freedom to expand more fully, making controlled breathing far easier and more effective. Just as important, this posture reduces the likelihood of fluid backing up into your lungs, a dangerous complication that can develop quickly during heart failure. Research from institutions such as Tokyo Medical University has shown that patients who remained in this semi-Fowler's position maintained oxygen saturation levels 35% higher than those who stayed standing or lay completely flat. That improved oxygen supply becomes essential in protecting both the heart muscle and the brain during these critical minutes. There is, however, one circumstance in which you must abandon this position. If you begin to feel faint, if dizziness sweeps over you, or if you sense that consciousness is slipping away, you must lower yourself to the ground immediately and carefully. Do not collapse suddenly. Use nearby furniture or stable surfaces to guide yourself down safely. Once you reach the floor, roll onto your side rather than onto your back. This is the recovery position, typically performed by lying on the right side with the left knee bent for balance. This posture keeps your airway open if you lose consciousness and protects you from aspirating vomit, a complication that occurs in roughly 30% of heart attack cases. Whichever position you assume, one action must occur the very moment symptoms begin. You must loosen any tight clothing constricting your chest, abdomen, or neck, undo your belt, unbutton your collar. Remove any tie or scarf. Anything that restricts movement or breathing must be dealt with instantly. Restrictive clothing creates unnecessary resistance against expanding your lungs, interfering with oxygen flow at a moment when every breath matters. Research published in the Journal of Cardiac Nursing shows that simply loosening a belt can raise blood oxygen levels by up to 8% during cardiac distress. This slight but meaningful rise can become the difference between staying conscious long enough to act or collapsing before help arrives. Managing your surroundings becomes the final layer of protection as the crisis unfolds. A heart attack often triggers sudden, heavy sweating, a sign that the body is under extreme internal strain, so you must resist the instinct to wrap yourself in blankets. Overheating forces your heart to work even harder. Instead, keep the room cool but not uncomfortably cold, and if you can do so without risking collapse, open a window to let in fresh air. What you must avoid entirely is stepping outside. Many victims collapse where no one can see them, losing the precious chance of rescue. The correct resting position and the removal of anything constricting your chest or abdomen work together with the controlled breathing protocol to preserve both energy and oxygen. This careful physical self-management leads directly into a far more subtle threat: the rapid breakdown of cognitive function when the brain is starved of oxygen. Even after taking the correct physical steps and using medication properly, many people fail at this next hurdle. Oxygen deprivation can cloud judgment, distort time, blur awareness, and erase even the simplest facts, such as your own address. That is why you must prepare an emergency communication system long before the moment of crisis arrives, a system designed specifically to protect you when your mind is slipping into confusion. Most heart attack victims experience disorientation within seconds, and the goal here is to create a structure that allows you to communicate clearly, even when panic and hypoxia make coherent thought nearly impossible. Your first line of defense against cognitive failure is a prepared address card. This bright, highly visible card must contain your full address, including apartment number, floor level, gate codes, or specific instructions such as back entrance only or gate code 4567. You tape this card directly beside every phone in your home. It should also list your own phone number and any special entry instructions rescuers would need. Studies show that short-term memory collapses quickly when oxygen levels fall, and long-term information like your address can vanish entirely. By posting the information where you can see it, you bypass the damaged memory system and simply read the details to the 911 dispatcher, ensuring help can find you even when your mind cannot recall where you live. Equally important is optimizing your Phone system. Dialing 3 separate digits sounds simple, but during a cardiac event, shaking hands and fading coordination can turn this small act into a nearly impossible motor task. To protect yourself, program 911 as the number 1 speed dial on every phone you own, including your mobile phone. Pressing a single button is infinitely easier when your body is trembling and your awareness is slipping. You must also keep your phone charged and always within reach, especially at night. The American Heart Association has shown that 43% of fatal heart attacks in older adults occur between 10 p. and 6 hours when phones are often charging in another room and completely inaccessible. If you live alone, a medical alert device is not optional, it is essential. Its life-saving power depends entirely on whether you are wearing it at the moment the attack begins. You must wear it constantly, even in the shower. Research from the National Institute on Aging reveals a troubling reality. 31% of seniors who own these devices are not wearing them during their cardiac event because they removed them for bathing or sleeping. Choosing a fully waterproof model eliminates this deadly vulnerability, ensuring one-touch communication is always available, no matter where you are. Your survival network also includes the people around you. A trusted neighbor, informed about your condition, can become an immediate ally by giving them a spare key and asking them to check on you if something seems unusual. You add another layer of protection. In apartment buildings, informing the manager or doorman can be equally important. They are often the first to guide paramedics through complex entryways and hallways, shaving off minutes that may decide whether you live or die. When these communication systems are established, a visible address card, a simplified phone setup, a constantly worn alert device, and an informed local support network, you protect yourself even in the terrifying moments when confusion sets in or consciousness begins to waver. This network fulfills the 73% survival advantage linked to the first 60 seconds of decisive action. With these defenses in place, attention turns to one final, controversial technique sometimes debated, but in rare cases capable of buying a few extra seconds. The cough-induced circulatory support, often referred to as cough keeper. Before exploring that method, it is crucial to recognize why such a technique is even discussed. Despite all your preparations, despite the interventions you have executed, the real enemy in these moments is the silent, immediate collapse of cognitive function brought on by oxygen loss. That is why your emergency communication system is not optional but foundational, ensuring your voice, your location, and your chance at survival remain intact even as your mind struggles to hold on. Your first critical step is to counteract the loss of short-term memory and spatial awareness. You must write your complete address, including the apartment number, floor, or any specific instructions like backdoor access only or gate code 4567 on a bright-colored index card. A study tracked 500 heart attack survivors over 60 and found 67% could not remember their own address when calling 911. You must tape this card directly next to every telephone in your house. The card should also include your own phone number and any gate codes or special entry instructions. Studies have shown that when oxygen deprivation affects the brain, the ability to retrieve long-term facts like your address fails rapidly. Having the information visibly posted bypasses this cognitive failure entirely, ensuring you can read the exact location to the 911 dispatcher. While calling 911 is an obvious step, the physical act of dialing 3 separate numbers can become a difficult motor skill during a cardiac event when your hands are shaking and coordination is failing. Therefore, program 911 into your speed dial as number 1 on every phone in your house, including your cell phone. Hitting a single, programmed button is infinitely easier than attempting to press 3 numbers in the correct sequence while under duress. Furthermore, keep your cell phone charged and within arm's reach at all times, especially at night. The American Heart Association found that 43% of fatal heart attacks in seniors happen between 10 p. and 6:00, when phones are often in another room charging. If you live alone, a medical alert device is not a convenience. It is a necessity. However, the true life-saving power of these devices is entirely dependent on one simple action: wearing it constantly. You must wear the device at all times, even in the shower. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows a devastating lapse. $31% of seniors who own medical alert devices are not wearing them when they have their cardiac event because they took it off for bathing or sleeping. The small extra investment for a fully waterproof device is inconsequential compared to the life-saving minutes it buys you. Your immediate survival network extends beyond technology. It includes your trusted neighbors. If you have any known heart issues, inform a trusted neighbor about your condition. Give them a spare key and instruct them to check on you if they hear unusual noises or if you do not follow your normal routine. Additionally, if you live in an apartment building, inform the building manager or doorman. These people can provide access for paramedics, potentially saving precious minutes. This comprehensive communication system ensures that even if you are confused, paralyzed, or losing consciousness, a pathway for rescue and communication is established, fulfilling the $73% survival promise of the first 60 seconds. Now, we move to a final, controversial technique that is widely debated but may, in specific situations, buy you a few crucial seconds of time. The cough-per technique. Our final two protocols concern the most controversial self-intervention and the crucial checklist that brings all 7 preceding strategies together. We begin with the controversial cough CPR and final preparation. Cough cardiopulmonary resuscitation, ORS, has generated significant debate in the medical community. It is not a substitute for professional CPR, nor is it effective for a heart attack caused by a complete arterial blockage. However, recent research has provided clearer guidelines on its limited, but potentially time-buying application. CoughPer works by creating rapid, dramatic pressure changes within your chest. This pressure can momentarily help maintain blood flow to the brain when your heart rhythm suddenly becomes dangerously irregular, specifically during the very brief period before you lose consciousness due to an arrhythmia. It is, in essence, manually squeezing your heart when it is failing to pump properly. Study tracked 240 patients who were taught this technique and found that those who used it correctly during the early, conscious stages of an event maintained consciousness for an average of 92 seconds longer than those who did not. While 92 seconds may not sound like much, it can be just enough time to successfully complete a call to 911 or to reach your life-saving medication, such as nitroglycerin or aspirin. The Cleveland Clinic emphasizes that this technique is most effective only in the first 30 to 60 seconds of symptoms, which is why prior knowledge is absolutely critical. You will not have the time or the mental clarity to search for instructions when you need them. The protocol is as follows, and must only be used while you are still conscious. At the very first sign of heart attack symptoms, take a breath as deep as you possibly can, filling your lungs completely. Then, cough hard and deep, as if you are trying to cough up something lodged deep in your chest. This cough must come from your diaphragm, not just your throat, to generate the necessary intrathoracic pressure. Repeat this entire cycle: deep breath in, hard cough out every 2 seconds without stopping. The rhythm must be steady and forceful. The essential caution. You must understand that cough CPR only works if you are still conscious and only in specific heart rhythm problems. If you are having a complete heart attack due to blocked arteries, it won't help and could potentially be harmful. Therefore, you should use it only as a desperate, temporary measure while you are waiting for professional help to arrive, never as a replacement for calling 911. Knowledge is useless without preparation. The greatest predictor of survival is not just knowing the 7 techniques we have covered, but ensuring all systems are operational before the crisis hits. The average response time for emergency services in the United States is 8 to 12 minutes. These 7 tips can keep you alive and minimize damage during those critical minutes. Here is your mandatory actionable checklist, which I urge you to print and review weekly. First, conduct a medication check. Check the expiration dates on your aspirin and your nitroglycerin supplies monthly. You must replace your nitroglycerin every 6 months, regardless of use, because it loses potency quickly when exposed to air, light, or heat. If your nitroglycerin does not cause a slight headache or tingling sensation, it is likely no longer effective and must be replaced. Second, Dedicate time to practice breathing. Run through the paced diaphragmatic breathing exercise daily for 5 minutes to build muscle memory, ensuring you are able to implement it successfully during an emergency. Third, verify your emergency communication system. Check your bright-colored address cards next to all phones. Ensure 911 is programmed as speed dial number 1 on all phones, including your mobile, making dialing infinitely easier when coordination fails. Fourth, ensure device protocol adherence. If you have a medical alert device, put it on right now and wear it constantly, even in the shower, to avoid becoming part of the $31% dollar failure statistic observed among device owners who remove it for bathing or sleeping. Fifth, confirm your access protocol. Verify that your neighbors have a spare key or that your fire department has the registered code for your key lock box. Locked doors delayed treatment by an average of 11 minutes in some studies. Sixth, maintain information visibility. Check the emergency information sheet taped to the inside of your front door. Ensure all medications, allergies, and conditions are current, as visible medical information can reduce treatment delays by $26%. These techniques are meant to buy you time until professional help arrives, not replace medical treatment. Share this information with every senior you know. Heart disease kills more people over 60 than any other condition, but knowledge and preparation can dramatically improve survival odds. Print out these instructions and keep them somewhere visible. Your heart and your loved ones will thank you for being prepared. We began by confronting the terrifying reality. Over 380,000 Americans face a heart attack alone each year, and $89% of seniors lack the knowledge to survive those critical first minutes. We have armed you with an 8-point, evidence-based survival blueprint, from the immediate physical action of the Unlock First protocol to the potent pharmaceutical synergy of chewed aspirin and sublingual nitroglycerin, and the physiological self-management of controlled breathing. You now possess the power to increase your survival chances by an astonishing $73%. The only difference between knowledge and rescue is preparation. Do not wait for the symptoms to begin. Make these protocols a routine part of your life today. This preparation is the ultimate expression of vitality and self-care, granting you control over a crisis that often feels uncontrollable. Take action now and secure your own lifeline.